I grew up in my sister Bethany's shadow from the moment she was born, and it was like the whole world was at her grasp. She had blue eyes that sparkled like gems, the most beautiful black hair, and always wore the best clothes. Bethany always had the best grades, was a star cheerleader and our school's #1 athlete in track and soccer. I was an average kid that struggled academically, and I was by no means talented nor had any friends. I was always an unplanned and unwanted baby that to my parents was a mistake. In my senior year of high school, we moved to this big beach house in Michigan, on the south shore near this lighthouse. Bethany's bedroom was located in the basement across from my bedroom that resided on the 3rd floor. Bethany spent a lot of time doing arts and crafts. Her bedroom door was always locked. Mozart was always on full blast. During the first week in our new house, Bethany just stayed in her room for several hours. From morning to night, she kept herself busy with a paintbrush. She ate alone. She didn't socialize much, except when she was at university or at parties. Bethany kept her distance from me like usual, pretending that I didn't exist. I was invisible. My parents would always tell me, "Why can't you be more like Bethany?" Those words always haunted me. No matter what I said or did, it was never good enough. I often wondered if once, just this once, Bethany would fail at something, cry or get scared. Everything about her was always perfect, and she always smiled. She never even swore or acted out. She was like the precious porcelain doll that was put on display for everyone to admire, while all I got was whispers of disdain and looks of disapproval. I remember one rainy, stormy night, I had gone up out of bed and couldn't sleep. Bethany, of course, was at a friend's house studying, and my parents were out having dinner with their coworkers. They wouldn't be back till around 11 p.m. I decided that I would get even with my older sister. I was always tired of being ignored and casted out by my own classmates, my own teachers, and my own parents because of Bethany. It was always about Bethany. And the same words echoed in my brain, louder and louder as I tossed and turned in bed. Always the same harsh, cruel words that always kept me awake. Why can't you be more like Bethany? As the thunder roared and the lightning flashed, I stormed down the hall, armed with a sledgehammer. I kept a spare key hidden away and carefully unlocked the door to my sister's room. I slowly descended the rickety steps and I examined the various art pieces, the pottery, the sculptures, and one portrait of a mysterious woman wearing an old Victorian-style dress. Her blonde hair in a bun, and she held a needle and some thread, sitting in an old rocking chair outside of what appeared to be the same lighthouse. She had this painted smile of rosy lips. Bethany was going to present the portrait in an exhibition as she entered her university's art contest, and she won every other year. Well, not this year, I thought. I intended on making sure her chances of winning first place were little to none. I swung the sledgehammer, knocking down everything in my path. Her entire room was completely destroyed, and the portrait I slashed with a kitchen knife. The next morning, Bethany's screams filled the entire house when she came home. I laid in bed with the most satisfied smirk on my face. I was the first person my parents had confronted, but then again, we also had a Rottweiler that was known to be wild, and his muddy paw prints were found at the scene. I knew this was wrong, especially to blame my sheer act of vandalism on the family pet. But to see the devastation on Bethany's face was too good to pass up. Eventually, when she came down to dinner, for the first time ever, she was quiet. And while my parents chatted, Bethany stared intently at me. It's as though she really knew who did it. It was that painted smile. Calm. Too calm underneath the rage-filled eyes. One that was unnatural. Her smile had widened, had become unbelievably large. My parents hadn't noticed her expression the whole time we sat there, and I hardly ate. On the night of the art contest, Bethany returned home with the first place trophy. I rushed downstairs into the living room and I froze. There, hanging above the mantel of the fireplace, was the same portrait of the woman who sat in front of the lighthouse. My jaw dropped to the floor. I couldn't believe it. I destroyed that artwork. It looked to be in mint condition, like it was never touched. It was like nothing ever happened. Days turned into months, and Bethany decided one day she was going to quit going to college, so she never went back. So she stayed in her room down in the basement and continued her hobby as usual. In late hours of the night, as my parents were often gone on business trips, I heard what sounded like sobbing. By each passing hour until 4 in the morning, the crying turned into insane laughter, and there were also these loud thumping noises like something heavy was being dragged about. Glass shattered. I shook, pulling the covers up over my head. I was wondering what was going on up there, but I was too afraid to move an inch. One night I got out of bed slowly and pulled out a flashlight. I tiptoed quietly down the hall to my sister's room. Everything was knocked down. It was like a tornado hit the place. I called out to Bethany, but she was nowhere to be found. I searched the entire property from top to bottom. It's like she disappeared into thin air. Her car was still in the driveway. Then I felt dizzy and lightheaded. My gaze was fixated on the lighthouse. Something drew me closer to it. Singing. I can't tell you who was singing. I didn't see anyone, but I was entranced by it. I lost full control of my movement. There was a shadowy figure standing on the dock, which would lead to the sandy beach and directly to the lighthouse itself. It was a woman, but I couldn't make out the face of the figure. I just passed out. I woke up in the hospital and later was released. My parents made dinner one night, my favorite dish, and strangely enough, started paying more attention to me and asking how my day was. I asked about Bethany. Bethany was still missing. My parents exchanged confused glances and then back at me. "What are you talking about?" my dad asked. "You know, my older sister Bethany," I said, bewildered by his reaction. My mom shook her head. "Dear, you had a terrible fall and you were in a coma for a few weeks," she said. "The groundskeeper saw you standing on the railing of the lighthouse and you slipped during the storm." "But Bethany, Sweetheart, when I had you, I went through severe complications and you almost didn't survive. You were a miracle baby, and the doctor said it wasn't safe due to my pre-existing health issues to have any more children. So I had to undergo surgery. You are an only child." My legs felt like jelly. "We cleared out the basement for you so you can move in. There was tons of junk and boxes we had to sell," my dad had explained. "It's all ready for you to get settled in." 3 days later, as I brought the last of my things into my new room, I just about fainted. I dropped to the floor on my knees, and there lying in the center was the portrait with the same background. Only it wasn't the same woman as before. It was a young woman with glossy blue eyes that bulged out of her head. Her black hair was down, and she was wearing an old Victorian dress. Her face was white as snow, her mouth stitched and bloody. A painted smile, so unbelievably large and unsettling. That woman was my sister, Bethany.